These weren't just words. They were a family's raw, unfiltered pain, echoing through a courtroom, through a community, through the lives forever shattered by one act of violence. On October 11th, 2023, Raisha Hurd, a 31-year-old pregnant mother, was in what should have been a place of safety, her home. Instead, it became the site of an unthinkable crime. Her 9-year-old son stood frozen in horror, forced to witness the unimaginable as bullets tore through his mother's body, ending 2 lives in an instant. And the man behind the gun, her ex-boyfriend, Justin Renee Lewis, a rising rapper known as Mad Music Kali, a man she once trusted, a man whose love had twisted into possession, jealousy, and lethal rage. This wasn't just another domestic dispute gone wrong. It was a calculated act of violence, one that left a family broken, a child traumatized, and a community asking why. How did it come to this? What drove Justin to pull the trigger? What warning signs were missed? And more importantly, how did Raisha's son survive witnessing such horror? This is more than a crime. It's a cautionary tale of love turned deadly, of lives destroyed by one person's choice. It's a case that forces us to confront the reality of domestic violence, the dangers of unchecked rage, and the terrifying ways a relationship can spiral into tragedy. Stay with us as we unravel the chilling details of Raisha Hurd's final moments, the case against Justin Renee Lewis, and the lasting impact of this heartbreaking crime. Welcome to Unreal Minds. This is the story you won't be able to forget. Raisha Hurd was a mom who lived for her boys. At 31, she called DeKalb County, Georgia, home, a place where she raised her 2 sons with a warmth that stuck with everyone who knew her. She'd wake up each day, tie their shoes, and send them off with a hug. To her friends, she was rain, a burst of light, even when life got heavy. But Raisha carried a hope inside her, a quiet wish for someone to stand by her side, to build a family her boys could lean on. That's when Justin Renee Lewis stepped in. Justin was a rapper out of New Orleans, chasing the spotlight as Mad Music Kali. He had a voice that hooked you, a charm that pulled you close. His tracks were gaining traction, his dreams stretching wide. To Raisha, he was electric, a man who promised more than just a moment. She fell hard, seeing a love she thought she'd waited for. But there was a weight to Justin, a shadow he kept tucked away. Friends saw it first, how his smile could flip to ice in a heartbeat. They'd catch him watching Raisha too close, asking questions that didn't sit right. She'd laugh it off, say he was just protective. But the whispers grew. A name floated up from his past. Sydney Dalcour, his first wife. Dead in 2017, found with bullets in her chest, case never solved. Justin's name hung over it, untouched by charges, but stained with doubt. Did Raisha know? Or did she push it down, hoping love could rewrite the story? Their days together rolled on, and Raisha's belly grew. She was carrying his child. She thought it might tie them tighter, mend the cracks. But those cracks widened. Justin's grip got sharper. Her phone wasn't hers anymore. Her plans had to pass his eyes. Friends begged her to look closer, to ask harder questions. She didn't. Not yet. Sydney's shadow loomed larger, a question mark that wouldn't fade. What had Justin left behind in New Orleans? And what was he dragging into Raisha's world? Raisha thought she'd found love with Justin, but she didn't know the darkness he carried. A darkness that wasn't just a memory. It was alive, growing, waiting. How long could she stay blind to it? And what would it cost her when the truth broke free? Raisha Hurd thought she'd found something real with Justin Renee Lewis. It started fast, late-night calls, big promises, her heart racing every time he smiled. But that rush faded quick. Justin's grip tightened. He'd check her phone, demand to know who she'd been with, where she'd been. If she didn't answer his texts in minutes, he'd call over and over, voice sharp with anger. "You hiding something?" he'd snap. Raisha told herself it was love, that he just cared too much. Her friends didn't buy it. "He's watching you too close," one said, eyes worried. "That's not normal." Her family saw it too. Raisha's mom would sit her down, hands clasped tight. "That boy's got a temper, Ray. You watch yourself." Her brother flat out hated him, said Justin's stare gave him chills, but Raisha pushed it away, caught up in hope, in the idea she could change him. Then came the fights, loud, messy, raw. One night, Justin grabbed her wrist, squeezed until she winced. She pulled back, stared at him, but didn't run. Not yet. What kept her there? Fear? Love? Or something she couldn't name? Here's the part Raisha didn't see coming. Justin had a past, a heavy one. Back in 2017, his first wife, Sydney Dalcour, turned up dead in New Orleans. Shot multiple times, her body slumped in a parked car. Police asked questions, pointed fingers. Justin's name came up, but no arrest, no charges. The case just stopped. People talked, though. Neighbors, friends. They'd whisper about Sydney, about Justin, about what might have gone down. Raisha never heard those stories. She didn't dig. Maybe she should have. What was Justin carrying that he wouldn't say? Then, everything shifted. Raisha was pregnant. Justin's child, growing inside her. She thought it'd bring them closer, maybe soften him. She was wrong. He didn't want it. His jaw clenched when she told him. His words turned cold. "We can't do this," he'd mutter, pacing, fists balled up. The bigger she got, the angrier he became. Her friends pleaded with her, "Get out, Ray. Think of the baby." But she stayed, clinging to a thread of faith. What she didn't know. Sydney had been pregnant too, years back. Same man, same reaction. Was this a coincidence, or a warning Raisha couldn't see? Time was ticking. Raisha was caught, her belly swelling. Justin's temper rising. Her family watched helpless. Her friends held their breath. Something was coming. Something big. Would she make it out before it hit? Or was she already too late? October 11th, 2023. The sun hung low over DeKalb County, Georgia, casting long shadows across the driveway of Raisha Hurd's parents' home. Raisha, 31, stepped out of her car, arms full of grocery bags. Her 9-year-old son trailed behind her, clutching a small toy, his laughter breaking the quiet. It was a normal afternoon until it wasn't. A car tore down the street, tires screeching as it jerked to a stop. Justin Renee Lewis stepped out, his face twisted, eyes locked on Raisha. She froze, the bag slipping from her hands. Her son's laughter died. Justin didn't speak. The gun in his hand said it all. The first shot cracked the air. Raisha stumbled back, her mouth open in a silent scream. Her son's toy hit the ground. Another shot, then another. Raisha crumpled, her body folding onto the driveway. Her son stood there, eyes wide, too shocked to move. The final bullet ripped through the air, and she was gone. Her unborn child with her. Her little boy screamed for his mom, his voice raw, breaking. But she was gone, taken in broad daylight. Justin turned, climbed back into his car, and sped off, leaving silence and shattered lives behind. Raisha Hurd's life ended there, but her story, it was just beginning to unfold. Justin Renee Lewis sat in DeKalb County Jail. The cold steel of his cell a stark contrast to the freedom he'd flaunted just days before. The doorbell camera had ended his run, caught the gun, the shots, Raisha Hurd's final moments. He was locked up, charged with malice murder, no chance of bail. Raisha's family thought the nightmare might finally ease. But then, something no one expected happened. A letter arrived at the Hurd home, postmarked from inside the jail. It was Justin's handwriting. "You think this is over?" it read. "I'm still here." The family froze. How could he reach them from behind bars? Police grabbed the note, launched a new probe. Was he planning something, or just toying with them again? Days later, a guard found a burner phone taped under Justin's bunk. He'd been making calls, short, hushed ones. To who? Investigators traced the numbers fast. Most were dead ends, but one hit a name: Marcus Tate, a guy from Justin's old crew. Marcus had been quiet since the murder, laying low in Atlanta. Now he was on the phone with a killer. What police found next changed everything. Marcus wasn't just a friend. He'd been at Raisha's house the night she died. A second camera, missed at first, caught his shadow near the back door. He didn't pull the trigger, but he was there, watching. Justin hadn't acted alone. The family reeled. Raisha's sister clutched her chest, whispering, "There's more of them out there." Was Marcus the only one? Or were others still hiding? Police hauled Marcus in on October 25th, 2023. He didn't talk at first, just stared at the table. But then came the moment that sent chills through everyone in the room. Detectives played the footage, his silhouette clear as day. "That's you," they said. "Start explaining." Marcus cracked, voice low. "Justin told me to watch the street, said it'd be quick." He swore he didn't know Raisha would die, but one detail didn't make sense. Why leave the phone with Justin if he was just a lookout? The case blew open. Marcus faced charges, accessory to murder, and cops dug deeper. Another call from Justin's burner led to a storage unit in Forest Park. Inside, a duffel bag with cash, a loaded gun, and a list of names. Raisha's was at the top, scratched out. Below it, her sister's name, untouched. The family got the call that night. "Lock your doors. We're sending a patrol." Panic set in. Was Justin still pulling strings? Back in jail, Justin stayed silent, his smirk gone. Guards tightened watch, but questions burned. Who else was on that list? Were they targets or allies? Raisha's mom gripped her husband's hand, voice shaking. "He's not done with us." The air grew heavy. Justice had caught Justin, but the threat lingered, alive and sharp. What would he try next? And who was still out there, waiting? The air in Raisha Hurd's home hung heavy after Justin's arrest. Her two boys, now motherless, wandered the rooms like ghosts. Her youngest, barely 9, pressed his face against the window, waiting for a car that would never pull up. "She always came back," he said, voice cracking. Raisha's sister knelt beside him, clutching his small hand. She couldn't speak. Across the room, Raisha's uncle stared at the wall, fists tight. "No one else should go through this," he said, his plea sharp with anger. Her unborn child, gone with her, left a silence that screamed louder than words. Then, something no one expected happened. A worn notebook slid from Raisha's coat pocket as her sister packed away her things. Inside, a list of dates, names scratched beside them. One stood out: Sydney Dalcour, 2017. The same Sydney tied to Justin years ago. The family froze. What did Raisha know? Her death wasn't just their loss. In the US, homicide ranks high among killers of pregnant women. Too many die like Raisha, at the hands of someone they loved. The numbers hit hard. Nearly half of female homicide victims fall to a partner. Her story fits a grim mold, etched into homes nationwide. She wasn't alone in this danger, but one detail didn't make sense. Raisha's cousin replayed a memory. Raisha's voice on the phone, steady but rushed. "I've got it handled," she'd said days before her death. Handled what? Her family racked their minds. Had she seen trouble coming? Was there a way out? Her brother kicked the porch step, jaw tight. "I should have asked more," he muttered. Justin's shadow loomed. Sydney's death unsolved. Now, Raisha's blood on his hands. Could anyone have stopped this? Then came the moment that sent chills through everyone in the room. A neighbor rushed in, out of breath. "Someone's been watching the house," she said. "I saw them last night, standing right where she fell." The family turned to the window. Who was out there? And why now? Raisha's story wasn't finished. It was tearing open wider. Raisha Heard's family gathered in their DeKalb County home, the walls echoing with silence where her laughter used to be. Her two boys, now without a mum, sat on the couch, clutching her old scarf. The 9-year-old traced the fabric with his small fingers, tears falling fast. "When's she coming back?" he asked, voice tiny. Raisha's sister turned away, her chest tight, unable to answer. Her unborn child, lost in the gunfire, left a hole no one could fill. Raisha's dad stood at the door, staring out. "No one else should go through this," he said, his words sharp with pain. Then, something no one expected happened. A small photo slipped from the scarf as the boy held it tight. It showed Raisha with a woman, someone the family didn't know. On the back, in Raisha's handwriting, "Sydney, 2017. Sydney Dalcour, Justin's first wife, shot dead years ago." The room went still. Raisha knew her? Since when? The weight of her death stretched far beyond that driveway. In the US, homicide stands as a top killer for pregnant women. Numbers don't lie. 1 in 5 die by a partner's hand. Raisha's story fits a pattern, carved deep across the country. She wasn't the only one caught in this danger. Her pregnancy didn't shield her, it marked her. But one detail didn't make sense. Raisha's best friend sat at the table, flipping through old texts. "She told me she was leaving him," she said, voice shaking. 2 days before, she said, "I'm done." The family looked up. Leaving Justin? Then why was she at her parents' house, so close to him? Had she tried to run? Was there a way out? Her cousin slammed his fist on the counter. "I should have pushed harder," he said, eyes red. Could anyone have stopped this? Then came the moment that sent chills through everyone in the room. The phone rang. Raisha's mum picked it up, hands trembling. A voice on the other end, low and quick. "Check her email." The line went dead. Her sister grabbed Raisha's laptop, heart racing. An unread message sat in her inbox, sent the morning she died. The sender? Unknown. The subject line? "You're not safe." Who sent it? And what did they know that Raisha didn't? DeKalb County Police moved fast after Raisha Heard's murder. They had the doorbell camera footage, grainy but clear. Justin Renee Lewis, gun in hand, firing at Raisha as her son screamed. The video pinned him, no question. Detectives sat in a small room, watching it on repeat. "We've got him," one said, voice low. They pulled his mugshot, matched his face, and issued the warrant. But one detail didn't make sense. Justin wasn't new to this. Back in 2017, his first wife, Sydney Dalcour, died in New Orleans, shot dead in her car, body cold when cops arrived. Justin's name came up then too. Suspect number 1. Neighbors saw him near her apartment that night, heard them arguing hours before. Yet, No charges. The case stalled. Evidence thin. Witnesses silent. Why? Detectives in Georgia pulled the old file, pages yellowed but heavy. They read through Sydney's autopsy, same wounds, same gun type. Then, something no one expected happened. A retired cop from New Orleans called the DeKalb team. "I worked Sydney's case," he said, voice rough. "We had a witness. She saw Justin leave the scene, gun in his hand. The woman vanished before they could bring her in. Scared off," the cop said. "Or worse." The room went quiet. Had Justin slipped through once already? DeKalb detectives dug deeper. They found a photo in Raisha's things, her and Sydney together, smiling. They knew each other. How? Sydney's family got a call. Did she ever mention Raisha? Her sister paused, voice tight. "Once. Said she met a girl Justin liked." The pieces clicked, but the picture stayed blurry. Two women dead, one man in common. Was Raisha's fate sealed years ago? What police found next changed everything. A hidden email in Raisha's inbox, sent 3 days before her death. "He's coming for you," it read. Unsigned. The IP traced back to a library in New Orleans, Sydney's old neighborhood. Who sent it? Was it the missing witness? Or someone closer to Justin, trying to warn Raisha too late? Justin Renee Lewis thought he'd slipped away after Raisha Heard's death. Locked in DeKalb County Jail, he still had a plan. His phone buzzed with notifications, social media alive with his name. Then, something no one expected happened. He started posting. Day after day from inside, he taunted Raisha's family. "They're spreading rumors about this girl I used to mess with," he wrote, smirking in a selfie. Another post flashed live, him laughing, saying, "They can't hold me forever." Raisha's sister saw it, her hands shaking. How could he mock her like that? The comments poured in. Fans cheered at first, blind to the truth. But then her family fought back. Raisha's cousin posted a photo, her smiling with her boys. "This is who he took," he wrote. The internet turned. Strangers joined in, angry voices rising. "Justice for Raisha," scrolled across screens. Hashtags spread fast. Hashtag Raisha Heard. Hashtag Stop the Violence. People shared the doorbell footage, pointing at Justin's face. Outrage grew, a wave no one could stop. Police watched the storm unfold. Justin's posts gave them leads. One video showed a blurry figure in the background, someone passing him a phone in jail. Who? Detectives zoomed in, traced the clip. It led to a guard's account, now under review. Was Justin paying someone inside? The family held their breath. Then, something no one expected happened. A tip hit the police line. A user claimed Justin messaged them, bragging about friends who'd help him out. The screen froze on the chat. "They owe me. They'll get me free." Cops dug into his followers, hundreds deep. One name popped up. Marcus Tate, already linked to the murder night. Had Marcus been posting for him? Public anger boiled over. Protesters marched outside the jail, signs high. "Lock him up for good," they shouted. A news van rolled up, cameras rolling. Justin's old tracks, Mad Music Cali hits, played on loop, now a bitter echo. But one detail didn't make sense. A fan account posted a photo, Justin with a woman, arms around her, dated weeks after Raisha's death. Who was she? And where was she now? What police found next changed everything. The woman's name matched a missing person report from Atlanta. Last seen near Justin's old haunts. Was she another target? Or his next move? Raisha's mom gripped the phone, voice low. He's still out there, pulling strings. The internet had turned against him. But had it uncovered something bigger? Who else was caught in his web? Justin Renee Lewis vanished after Raisha Heard's murder. leaving DeKalb County buzzing with fear. Police swarmed the streets, sirens blaring, but he was gone. 8 days stretched on. October 11th to October 19th, 2023. Officers checked hotels, bus stations, every corner. Nothing. Then, something no one expected happened. A gas station clerk in Forest Park called the tip line. "I saw him," he said, voice shaky. "He's here, buying snacks." Detectives rushed over, hearts pounding. Was this the break they needed? The chase kicked off fast. Police cordoned off the area, lights flashing. Justin darted through backyards, jumping fences, his breath heavy. A neighbor peeked out, phone in hand, recording his shadow. Cops closed in, voices shouting, "Stop! Hands up!" Justin ducked into an alley, trash cans rattling as he ran. They thought he'd slip away again. But one detail didn't make sense. Why stay so close to DeKalb County? Officers cornered him near a rundown shed. He froze, eyes wild, hands raised. They grabbed him, cuffs clicking tight. October 19th, 2023. His run ended. The crowd outside cheered, relief mixing with rage. Inside the shed, they found a backpack. Inside, cash, a burner phone, and a map with scribbled notes. What police found next changed everything. The map marked Raisha's house and another address miles away. Whose was it? Detectives hauled Justin to the station. The evidence piled up. Doorbell footage showed his face, gun raised, firing at Raisha. Her 9-year-old son's words hit hard. He shot her, then ran. The boy's voice, small but steady, sealed it. Justin's motive? Raisha's pregnancy. He didn't want the child. Her growing belly drove him over the edge. But the map raised a new question. Was someone else on his list? Then came the moment that sent chills through everyone in the room. A detective flipped through Justin's phone. A text flashed up, sent hours before his arrest. "It's done. Next move?" No reply, no name. Who was he talking to? The room went silent. Justin smirked, saying nothing. Raisha's family got the news, hands trembling. Was the danger over, or just starting? Her family breathed relief, but it couldn't bring her back. Raisha Hurd's friends sat in a tight circle, voices low, after Justin Renee Lewis's arrest. They'd seen it all, his control creeping into her life. One friend leaned forward, eyes wet. He'd take her phone, she said, scroll through it, yell if she talked to anyone. Another nodded. He'd follow her home, wait outside her job. Threats came next. "You're mine," he'd hiss, his grip tight on her arm. Raisha hid the bruises, smiled through the fear. Why didn't she run? Her best friend shook her head, hands clasped. "I begged her to leave," she whispered. He'd call at midnight, demanding to know where she was. One night he smashed her car window over a text from her cousin. Friends warned her, family pleaded. But Raisha stayed, her hope fading slow. Then, something no one expected happened. A neighbor stepped up, showing police a video. Justin shouting at Raisha in her driveway, days before the murder. "You're done when I say," he roared. She'd looked scared, frozen. Had she planned to escape? The danger stretched far beyond Raisha's home. Pregnant women face a dark truth. Abuse turns deadly too often. Numbers hit hard. 1 in 4 pregnant women report violence from a partner. Homicide ranks high, killing more than illness in some years. Raisha's story fits the pattern. Her belly a target for Justin's rage. She wasn't alone, but one detail didn't make sense. Her sister found a journal under Raisha's bed, pages filled with dates, names, plans. "Leave by October 10th, one line read, the day before her death. She'd written Justin's threats, his anger growing with her pregnancy. Why didn't she go? Her friends stared at the page, silent. Had she waited too long? What police found next changed everything. A call log on Justin's old phone, dozens of late-night rants to Raisha, escalating after she got pregnant. One message stood out. "You'll regret this, kid." Detectives traced it to the night before. Then came the moment that sent chills through everyone in the room. A friend gasped, pointing at the log. That's the night she told him. She was leaving. Justin knew. Was that the spark? Raisha wasn't the first, and unless we act, she won't be the last. Her story echoes in too many homes. Who's next? And what could have saved her? Raisha Hurd's family stood in their DeKalb County living room, surrounded by her photos, smiling, holding her boys, glowing with life. Her sister clutched a candle, her face set hard. "We won't stop," she said, voice firm. They vowed to fight for justice, for Raisha's kids, for her memory. Her youngest son, now 10, drew her picture on a poster. "I miss you, Mommy," written in blue crayon. Her dad nailed it to a tree outside, a quiet promise to keep her alive. But one detail didn't make sense. The family found a letter, tucked in Raisha's drawer, dated a week before her death. "I'm scared," she wrote, "but I'll protect my boys." Protect them from what? They turned to her phone, searching for answers. A voicemail blinked, her voice shaky. "I need help," she said. "He's watching me." Sent to a friend who never heard it in time. Who was he? Justin? Or someone else? The community rallied fast. Calls for awareness spread through DeKalb County and beyond. Neighbors held vigils, candles flickering in the dusk. "For Raisha," they whispered, holding signs. "Stop the violence." Online, her story exploded. Videos, posts, thousands sharing her name. A local pastor led a march, megaphone in hand. "No more," he shouted, crowd echoing back. Schools started talks, how to spot abuse, how to help. Raisha's face was everywhere, a spark lighting up change. Then, something no one expected happened. A woman approached Raisha's sister at a vigil, her hands shaking. "I knew Justin," she said, voice low. "He called me. After." "After what?" The woman glanced around, then slipped a note into her hand. "Check his car," it read. Police got the tip, raced to the impound lot. What police found next changed everything. Inside Justin's trunk, a locked box, pry marks fresh. They cracked it open. Photos spilled out. Raisha walking her kids to school, unaware. Timestamps showed the days before her death. Someone had been following her. Then came the moment that sent chills through everyone in the room. A name on the box's lid. Marcus. Marcus Tate, the man tied to Justin on the murder night. Was he stalking her too? Raisha's family tightened their circle, eyes on the street. Her death was senseless, but her story doesn't have to be. It's pushing change, saving others. But Marcus, where was he now? And who else knew what he'd done? Raisha Hurd trusted Justin Renee Lewis, and it cost her everything. Her life, her child, her future. She stood in her parents' driveway on October 11th, 2023, unloading groceries, her 9-year-old son by her side. Justin's bullets took her in seconds, her unborn baby with her. He ran, taunted her family online, thought he'd slip away, but the doorbell camera caught him. Police tracked him down, found Marcus Tate tied to the murder night, uncovered photos of Raisha being watched. Her death opened a door, revealing a web of danger still out there. This is her warning to us. Then, something no one expected happened. A week after our last update, a package arrived at the DeKalb County Police Station. No return address. Inside, a USB drive, labeled for Raisha. Detectives plugged it in, hands steady. A video played, grainy footage of a man, not Justin, not Marcus, standing outside Raisha's parents' house. Timestamp: the night before her death. He held a phone, speaking low, then drove off. Who was he? The case isn't closed. The numbers scream louder than words. 1 in 4 women face severe partner violence. It's not isolated, it's an epidemic. Every year, thousands die like Raisha, caught in a cycle they can't break alone. Her story isn't rare. It's a mirror, reflecting a truth we can't ignore. But one detail didn't make sense. Raisha's sister found a note in the package, scribbled fast. "He's still out there," it read. "I saw him." No signature. Police traced the USB's packaging, postmarked from Atlanta, near Marcus's last known spot. Was this a witness or a new threat? If you need help, call 1-800-799-SAFE, the National Domestic Violence Hotline. You're not alone. Raisha's family fights for her boys, for justice, for change. Now it's your turn. Share this story. Talk about it. Let's break this cycle, together, for Raisha. Her death can't be undone, but her voice can still save lives. Who's out there, watching, and what will you do to stop this?